Hello, this is Robert Redfern and welcome to my Thursday newsletter, week 14, which is titled The World Has Gone Crazy. Well, that's except Sweden and some good news later in the newsletter. Just a little background. Since I started in the late 80s looking for the causes of my parents' premature death, it's become clear that the medical system is simply a disease management organisation. It is not involved in real healthcare. To be fair to the doctors and nurses that work in this system, they've only been trained to manage disease. They know no better. The prime treatments of the pharma medical cartel are drugs, and the prime preventions are vaccinations. None of them get you healthy. There are some ancillary treatments such as physiotherapy, which they're good, but on the whole, other than some surgery, the illnesses don't go away. You don't get healthy. And before you send emails to me and mention the one or two conditions, such as rare children's blood cancer that was cured, I do know of these, but it's very rare, and millions are left to suffer and die prematurely because of the fake healthcare. So, making sense. In the early 90s, I started to make headway helping people with my wife Anne when we introduced the HealthPoint, the electronic acupressure kit. And we started to get a reputation delivering on the promise of recovery. And slowly we started to introduce supplements that again produce measurable results: Active Life, MSM plus Silver, Serapeptase, MaxiFocus, Curcumin X4000 and many more. I wrote books on the diets and plans needed. Life became really exciting, helping people to recover from serious problems, especially after they'd been told by doctors nothing could be done. Epidemics of seasonal flu came and went and left us laughing at the doom and gloom stories of the pharma medical cartel that put out in the media SARS, swine flu, avian flu, to name a few. But despite the extravagant claims, the post-epidemic review showed that it was just a tiny amount of those already suffering terminal diseases that suffered. And it became obvious that the pharma medical cartel failed every time to persuade the mass of the population to take up their flu vaccinations. Their scare tactics failed. Now, to be clear, the causes of death from any flu is very minor compared to the causes of other diseases. An example is 3,000 people die in the UK hospitals every week from infections and lung diseases. That's huge, every single week. Are these the deaths that you're seeing in the media at the moment? Nobody knows, because they just say a person's died of coronavirus. They don't say that anybody's died of anything else. For the full facts on this, you need to go back to week 13 and read some of the facts. I'm not going to go over everything every week. But now the world has gone really crazy. And the story about China is difficult to pin down. But listening to Brits that live in Wuhan, they say that the initial panic was an overreaction. Maybe, I don't know. But they think it was because of the media. The lockdown and quarantine there were to investigate and sort out what was going on. And with such a huge population, it was probably sensible. It was resolved in China by mass treatment with vitamin D, vitamin D3, and a few antifungal drugs already on the market. They have almost nothing with it now. And China's returned to normal. The rest of the world, however, is in the same panic as China was in the first few weeks. And it doesn't look like they're going to take back control and stop the panic, except for Sweden. Now, initially, Sweden told everyone at risk, those with terminal diseases, lung disease, heart disease, those undergoing chemo, other immune-killing treatments and immune disease drugs, to self-isolate. Very sensible advice. I've been saying this ever since the whole thing started off. Isolate the people who are at risk, and the rest of us can get on with our lives. And that's what they've been doing in Sweden. And the economy is working normally. However, in the last few days, the government for Sweden has been asking the population to keep 1 to 2 meters apart, if at all possible. My guess is that the Swedish government is being spooked by what's going on in other countries, and still they don't want to destroy their country, so they're not shutting down their economy the same as the rest of the world. I think it's something any practical-minded person would choose to do, but our politicians are not practical-minded, and the majority around the world are not. I'm really surprised at the USA, but there again, what happens is the president of the USA, the same as the Prime Minister of England, is being blackmailed by the media to do something, as they say. But why destroy the economies of the world? It seems crazy. Well, the two reasons I describe on week 13, just to remind you, is that they want a good reason for everyone in the world to be vaccinated every year and to keep being vaccinated. Now, it's failed year after year with all these other flus and various names on it, as I said before, SARS, swine flu, etc. And people just really were turning away from vaccinations. They were trying for this yearly, you must have your yearly flu shot, but it wasn't happening. And maybe that's a good reason for them to get everybody in the world vaccinated. Of course, you have to be vaccinated every year then, once you've been vaccinated, to so-called a booster. The other possible reason is that they want to crash the world economy to hide the fact that they've been printing unfunded money by central banks. And this is not me. This is a lot of very clever financial people saying this, because they've been saying for a while that you cannot keep printing money, which will eventually devalue your currency. So what better way than to do it with everybody all over the world at the same time, rather than one country take the plunge by devaluing. Anyway, any more thoughts? You can tell me about them. You can write to me. Is it a push for world government? Maybe. I don't know about that one. But my guess is as good as anyone, because it's a crazy situation. And so if you have ideas, please write to me. I would love to hear of them. But don't just repeat my own, will you? But it might be that we've not seen anything yet, because already it's been discussed by various governments, is legally enforced mass vaccinations. Whoa, yes, that fits in nicely, doesn't it, with the first one? They're talking about abandoning juries. And so, if you go to court because you didn't have your vaccination or whatever, it will be a judge that sits and decides whether your reasons are valid or not. They're also discussing blocking emails and social media comments about the situation. So, soon I might not be able to correspond with you. However, I've already in this stopped using the C word, or the CV word, because I don't want to get blocked. So if you notice, I'm not using the C and the V word. Interesting, the UK police has just issued a statement suggesting that we should all follow the directions of the leader. Their words, not mine. Shall we all follow the directions of the leader? Oh, gosh. I don't think the Brits will do that, actually, or the Americans. Maybe the Germans. But to be fair, the German is handling quite well as well. They're not naming everybody that dies as dying of coronavirus. Anyway, it's a good job I don't use profanities, because I would have some choice words to say that I can think of. So that's the reason I'm not mentioning the name of this latest flu outbreak. And in my future articles, I won't mention the name of anything like that at all. I'll just have to talk in terms that you will recognise. People say to me, what about doctors? And I can understand them, because you go watch the TV and you'll see the doctors with sweat on their brows saying, we're fighting this, we're battling this, but we need some help from everybody. Give us a clap, whatever. Doctors are human. They're going along with the panic. It's simple. They're human. If people shout fire, the doctors will just run the same as anybody else to the exit, because that's what they're programmed to do. We're all programmed to do that. But doctors are especially brainwashed to do what their superiors tell them. In fact, they're threatened, but that's another story, a whole newsletter that. But as an example, I get hundreds of people who have taken supplements suffering from so-called terminal diseases, lung disease particularly, who have cleared it up in months. And they ask me, should they tell their doctor, as they innocent believe that the doctor has the power to change the protocol, the doctor's protocol. Well, they don't. And that's a fact. Not one doctor in 30 years, except a pulmonary doctor in the Ozarks of the USA, I'll come to that, has come to me and used any of my successful protocols. You might say, why should they? Why should they not? Because theirs are failing and they're damaging the people. Back to this doctor, even this pulmonary doctor, after he found the protocols work, he decided to abandon his practice to avoid the wrath of the medical cartel in the USA. And instead, he went to South America to work for health charities because he could work independently there. That's what happens when a doctor really, really knows what's going on. He has a choice. He can either fight the system and get sacked or castigated, or he can go private, or he can go and do some charitable work for health charities. And so my point is that many doctors practice healthcare, but none of them in the medical system, in the pharma medical cartel, practice healthcare. They're not allowed to practice healthcare at all. They have to go private to do that. And lastly, this is crazy. I know you think I'm wrong, but you can go there and see it because it was in week 13 I put this. The UK government's own website says it's not a serious epidemic, and it's certainly people are not dying as well. They use the word mortality. The mortality is very low. It doesn't matter how many people you see that are dying on the media every night, because the media tells lies. It's not just fake; it's downright outright lies. They could say they didn't know any better because the doctors told them this, or the people in charge of the system told them this. But wait a minute, if somebody else tells them something which is doubtful, they'll go and investigate it. In the old days, the BBC Panorama programme would turn over every bit of evidence, but not anymore. It's all finished. The truth in media is just finished. So you have to do your own research for an independent opinion if you doubt mine. And if you have something, share it with me, because I don't want to be right, in fact. I would prefer to be wrong, because, I was just saying to my wife when I was typing this up earlier, it just gets me down a little bit, actually, how crazy the world is and how corrupt the system is. It's not nice, I'm just the same as anybody else. I've got 8 grandchildren and a beautiful wife, and I just want to live a reasonable life, but something's going wrong, guys. And I don't really want to stress the readers, so I do try to bring some good news into it, and I do have some truth to tell. But this is the good news, and it's a bit of a contradiction in terms, but there is no proof that healthy people are at any risk of serious problems, and definitely not death, whatever the media and the government say, and the medical systems, the medical cartels. Just none. There's no proof whatsoever anywhere in the world. The probable cause is not virus, it's probably fungus, because fungus is a major world problem, not just in people, but it's a world problem in animals and plants. And that's partly because we don't have enough carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and we don't have enough trees to convert that carbon dioxide to oxygen. And the main source of all life and health for humans and all animals and many plants is oxygen. So that's the real cause, fungus, and it's become a major problem. But then we know that supplements and pharma drugs in use in China and around the world supplements and pharma drugs in use in China and around the world have been used to get rid of coronavirus. Oh, I can say it, can't I? I just can't type it down. There are 3 drugs, I've mentioned it before if you're one of my regular readers, and those 3 drugs are successfully being used around the world. Why not? Why are they looking for vaccinations when they've got some drugs? All those drugs are antifungals. That's their basis. That's their success. But I thought it was a virus. I'm sure you did. But here's an example which was in the media, even on the BBC website actually. In Germany, a biologist not long ago, just relatively short time ago, offered 100,000 euros to anyone who could prove the measles virus exists. There was a controversy going on about the measles vaccination in Germany. And so this biologist offered 100,000 euros to anyone who could prove the virus existed. The reason he gave was there was simply no proof that the measles virus existed, and he wanted proof. And so, eventually a medical doctor took him to court to claim the money. And this biologist lost in the lower courts, but when it got to the final highest court, they took it seriously, because the lower courts were just like saying, you know, it must be true. There must be measles virus, and threw the case out. But the High Court judges demanded that they produce evidence, and the doctor nor the medical authorities provided proof that the measles virus. Now, there's £100,000 on the table waiting to be claimed by anybody, whoever it was. But of course they could not, and the biologist won his case. To be clear, and I have to say this to be clear, the court did not say the virus did not exist, because a lot of people reported it that way. It simply said, it declared it was not proven because no evidence was given, or evidence that was reasonably acceptable, that the measles virus existed. Why? What's going on when somebody does this? I'm surprised more wealthy people have not done exactly the same. But there's good news at the bottom of all this. There is something that is absolutely fabulous for your immune system, and I've told you many, many times, it's in most supplements that I produce, and people say, why do you put it in everything? Surely that's going to give you too much. Listen to what I'm going to tell you now. The super vitamin for your immune system, and it must work on fungus because it works on practically everything, is vitamin D3. You've heard of it. Everybody's heard of vitamin D3. I know it's not a vitamin, it's really a precursor to steroids, but everybody calls it vitamin D3, so let's not go down that route. There's countless studies, and I mean countless. I've got possibly about 40 different studies. I'm going to collate them all, put them all together, and then if somebody wants to download them, you can do and read through them. But it's just ridiculous how good. And the studies include prostate cancer, breast cancer, many kinds of cancer, all sorts of conditions, anything where the immune system is at fault with the particular condition. And so it really, really is essential. Anne and I have always taken vitamin D3. We take between 10 and 20,000 IUs a day in supplement form. And when we lived in the sunshine of Mallorca, which we did for 12 years, just sunbathing 2 hours in the day provides 40,000 IUs of vitamin D3. So if you add our supplements and walking around in a pair of shorts most days, which we did, even if we weren't sunbathing, we were getting between 60 to 100,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every day. Now, I don't know why doctors don't know this, but they don't seem to know. D3 builds up in the body over the summer period, and that's how it works. And it has to build up because you're not going to get any in the winter, or very little in the winter. So it builds up in the body, And we probably had over 1 million IUs of D3 in our bodies, maybe 2 billion, because I know of a doctor that actually did it on purpose. He took 2 million IUs every week just to see if there was any side effects, and there's not. I know people say, doctors will say, oh, you shouldn't take too much. You know, everything that's said or written is not absolutely true. Anyway, so we would take 100 million IUs of D3 back with us in our bodies for our, because we always came back for the winter holiday season with family and whatever. So D3 is the thing. Now, in North America, the retirees, people who've retired, especially those living in the north, they jump in their mobile homes and all drive south for the winter to the desert camping grounds in Arizona and places like that. And they claim their diseases clear up, they feel wonderful when they get down there. By the time they've finished, it becomes really, really healthy. Now, as you know, deserts have lots of sunshine, but the other thing they don't have is lots of moisture. So it's a very dry air. And of course, fungus loves moisture. So that's why the fungus doesn't survive very well down in the desert areas, which is just another example of why fungus is implicated. So D3, as I said before, it's in many of... Oh, okay, you're back. I don't know what happened to the screen there. Oh, so my screen jumped up. Anyway, so D3, as I said before, it's in many of my supplements, and that's pretty good. There's, 10 to 20,000 is good for people who are already healthy, and if they, get a little bit of sunshine as well. But those at risk, people with lung disease, people with heart disease, people with cancer, people that have been having cancer treatment, because cancer treatment deactivates your immune system. That's what they're doing. Crazy. So I do recommend that you take the vitamin D3 capsules, which are 4,000 IUs. We are restricted how much we can put in, otherwise we get banned by advertising them. But so we've got the D3 capsules, which are 4,000 IU, and if you take 3 caps 3 times a day, that's 9 capsules, and 9 capsules times 4,000 is 36,000. So you're going to get 36,000 capsules. You're probably having more in other supplements, so you're going to get about 40,000. And I do recommend for a person at risk, no less than 40,000, better still 50,000. And that's, don't ask your doctor, please, because doctors recommend 400 IUs, 400, not 50,000. I would give 400 IUs to a newborn baby, because a lot of people now realizing that newborn babies have not got enough vitamin D3 in them, and so they're creating baby drops for newborn babies. So 400 IUs for a newborn baby, yes. For you, 50,000 or 40,000 IU, 50,000 IU, certainly at risk. I hope this puts it all in perspective, and it's when I'm saying these words, they all sound crazy, but that's the reality. It's but the truth is that you got to get healthy. If you have a health problem, you have to get healthy. You've got to get ahead of the game. Don't just think, well, I'll take a few supplements, but I won't change anything. I won't change my diet, and I won't do this, won't do that. You've really got to get ahead of the game. If you value your life, if you value being with your family, and stop all this craziness that's going on with the flu. So if you're new to my newsletter, I'm just going to go through a quick program to get you healthy and survive, but only if you stick with the plan. Something that's, if you like, is quite weird is that sodium bicarbonate, that's baking soda to you, is used intravenously in every hospital emergency room to rescue patients at death's door. Now, I call sodium bicarbonate the penny cure, because if you put it in every glass of water you drink over the day, it might be that will help to cure your condition, and that's about a penny a day it costs. So there's no reason not to take sodium bicarbonate. I do recommend, if you're seriously at risk, vitamin C, Active Life, prescript biotics, that's the friendly biotics that help your digestive system and also help your immune system to work in the digestive tract. Nascent iodine, daily immune protection, and ancient magnesium bath flakes or oil. And the reason magnesium is that we're all deficient in magnesium. The amount of magnesium in the food chain has gone down dramatically over the last 50 years. And it's the second most critical mineral in the body. So you're only half as healthy as your grandparents will have been, actually, because lots of grandparents live a long time, actually. When people say, you know, everybody's living longer, no, that's my age group and before me. The people that are coming up now, it's already started to go into reverse, actually, the statistics. So it's not good. And maybe what they're counting is the people that are dying younger now than was supposed to die. I don't know. It's very difficult because they won't give the information. I will get the information in about a year or so because all the statistics are always given by the bean counters, and it's great. But I can only look at them a year or 2 years ago. 2 years ago at best, a year ago if I'm lucky. So do really consider of getting healthy as your grandparents were. When I say grandparents, over 70. Because I'm 74. Stop eating all grains, cereals, and other high sugar foods and drinks. You might say, well, my grandparents ate those. Not a lot. And they certainly were probably organic grains and cereals, and they certainly weren't with the amount of fungus, pathogenic bacteria, fungus in it, which create pathogenic bacteria in our gut, because the fungus is growing on everything. Even the frogs are dying around the planet, and that's because of the low oxygen. Me getting them succumbing to fungus. So don't underrate anything that's going on. But of course, you've got Roundup herbicide on all the wheat. They actually put sprays on it to make it, to finish it off just before they farm it. So grains and cereals, keep away from the bread, pastry, biscuits, breakfast cereals, rice, potatoes, parsnips, and pasta. Eat colourful vegetables and dark-skinned fruits. Walk as much as possible. You need the oxygenation for your blood. You need to breathe better. And when you're walking, you breathe better. When you're sitting, you breathe badly. Walk, oxygen. Sit, no oxygen. Simple. Drink 6 times 500 glasses of water over the day with 1/4 to 1/3 teaspoon of baking soda in every glass. Add a squeeze of lemon to taste. But this is quite important. Don't not take the baking soda. It's a miraculous thing. They wouldn't give it intravenously to save people's lives if it wasn't really good. But don't listen to the people that say, oh, well, ours is aluminium free. They're all aluminium free. Don't listen to some of the marketing ploys that are around there. And if you can, consider taking the supplements that I mentioned before, because minerals are missing out of the food chain. And vitamin C only lasts in your body 1 day and then it's gone. So you can say, well, I took a lot of vitamin C yesterday, so I must be well. No, it literally is one of the few vitamins that literally disappears out of the body within 24 hours. You have to have it every single day. And that's it, folks. And I hope I've made sense with my ramblings, but that's the way it goes. It's all in my newsletter. You can read everything there, actually, but sometimes people like to watch it on their mobile phones or their computer or whatever. So you take care. Until the next time, take real care. Bye.